Hola, and welcome back to the Rear Winging It, the Formula One podcast. This week we're discussing the Mexico Grand Prix. I'm one of your hosts, Kieran, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ellie.
Hello.
And our other co-host, Harry.
Hello.
Hello, how are you both doing this week? Good week?
I'm well, thank you.
I'm much better after that very passionate Ola. I really enjoyed that.
Good, I'm glad. Right, well, a lot to get through today. So we're going to recap qualifying, set the scene, and fire straight into what was a very dramatic race. So, right off the bat, very impressive lap from Lando Norris on pole. Very impressive. More like the Mercedes, the McLaren. I always say Mercedes. More like the McLaren that we've been used to seeing, with a dominant lap. Ferrari also improving showing their good form of the last few races, continuing that on. Also looking really quick. Piastri, big struggles. Qualified 8th, started 7th with a penalty to Sainz. Sainz qualified in 7 himself, but started from P12. Out-qualifying Albon in P17 quite majorly. Max was in a Mercedes sandwich in P5. And that set the scene for a very dramatic race. What did you guys think of qualifying? I thought it was interesting. Set the scene really well for the Sunday, I think, which is what you want out of qualifying.
Yeah, I think that lap from Norris was fantastic because it was going into the final run, that lap from Charles. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's a fantastic lap. And then I thought it would be close, but Norris ended up pipping him by 2.5 tenths, something like that. So it was a very solid lap. It all seemed to just come together for him, but definitely Piastri struggling. It was like, was it like 6-7 tenths or something between them? It was a gulf. Yeah. It was a big gap. Big. So but I thought Max starting alongside Russell, I thought we'd see some fireworks into turn 1 for the race. So I was quite happy to see that. And I think with the Williams, I think Sainz has just been on a really good form at the moment.
Yeah, he has. He's really turned it around. I think not that he was ever terrible, but like. It took him a while to click, but now it really seems to be clicking for him. He's showing the quality that we all know he has.
Yeah.
Harry, how was qualifying for you?
I enjoyed it. I think it was from, I'd say, 2nd through to 6th. Any of those drivers could have been anywhere. It did feel like that all the way through.
Yeah, that's right.
With the exceptions of the McLarens, which was interesting. Piastri genuinely looked the weaker of the top teams, and Norris, fair play to him, was absolutely on form the whole weekend. You know, from the moment he stepped in the car, missed free practice 1. From free practice 2 onwards, there was no doubt that he was the strongest driver here and had full control of the car, whereas drivers like Max really struggling, slipping, sliding around. But yeah, it was fun. It was good. And having that unpredictability, even maybe not with P1, was fun.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Speaking of unpredictability then, moving on to the race itself, I think there was a Russell quote before the race, something in the media this week, that F1's become a bit of a race to turn 1. And that certainly wasn't true this week. We had action from the very start, from turn 1, lasting all the way on to lap 6, absolute chaos. So, we had Leclerc going off the track to avoid Max going off the track. Lewis lost out in that a little bit. Russell was very much not happy about that. Piastri dropped backwards to P9. Behrman moved himself up to P4. I think that was some of the best 6 laps of racing we've seen in a long time in F1, at least off the start. I don't know if you guys agree.
Yeah, I think because Mexico is the longest run to turn 1, I think it's like 800 meters.
Very long, yeah.
And I think it's like the longest turn into turn 1, the longest straight to turn 1, but it's the third shortest lap. So much of that lap is that straight, and I think it makes it really interesting. And I think it's so difficult. I think starting 2nd and 3rd is a bit more of an advantage than starting 1st. And I was convinced Lando was going to lose out at the start because the Ferraris getting the slipstream faster in a straight line. I really thought that the Ferraris were going to we're going to take him, but maybe just because the Ferraris had a bit of a squabble, and then Verstappen was in there, and then Russell was in there. I think maybe they all ended up fighting with each other, and Norris and Ollie Behrman as well, kind of in those first like 6 laps, they just kind of stayed out of trouble, and it paid dividends because they both, well, obviously Norris stayed in first, and Behrman made up several places to take a fantastic P4. So, I think just staying out of trouble was probably the key there.
Yeah. I think they probably all had that in mind, but obviously didn't all achieve it. I mean, we've seen a lot worse accidents on that corner, so the fact that there was, very minor damage was quite good for the rest of the race. I did think it was interesting. You mentioned the Ferraris not getting past Norris. Leclerc seemed to choose to cover off Hamilton. Obviously, Hamilton with the slipstream in P3. Definitely. Leclerc sort of moved left and covered that, and I thought that was interesting. Maybe not a team move, but he chose really, in my mind, to keep that second rather than risk.
Yeah, I think in the practice sessions, the McLaren had shown such great race pace, though. Yeah. So maybe that was a bit in his mind, and we obviously saw that in the race. I think had he have managed to get past Norris, which obviously he did get him off track, but immediately obviously gave it back, so he was never really in the lead, was he? No. But I think had he have got that position, I don't think it would have taken long for Norris to get past him.
No, I think he would
definitely
have
not. But I mean, how many times have we turned up to this podcast and spoke about Norris's starts? A lot. So I think he'll be really happy with the whole weekend in general, obviously. Yeah. But I think particularly, his pace has been good. His qualifying pace has still been good. His starts have been a real big issue for him. It's one of the weakest points of his racing this season, and he nailed it yesterday. So I think he'll personally take a lot from that. I think it'll give him a lot of confidence going into the rest of the season, because that's going to be crucial. We've seen how important starts are this year. So him getting that nailed, which he did this week, is so huge. So of how it all shook out then, obviously Russell was on the radio a lot this week. One of the things he was moaning about was Verstappen, the way he went off the track and re-entered it. Russell believing he was owed the place back. What do you make of it? I believe the way he did it, giving it back to the Ferraris, I think was probably about fair, slotting in where he did, because I think he'd cleared Russell by that point of the straight. Yeah,
he cleared him by the breaking point, and not even like a max breaking point, quite late when he chose to break. He cleared him well before the accepted natural breaking point. And I
feel like when you consider, was it when he was racing Hamilton, his breaking point was in a very different place than when he was against Russell. So I thought the Russell one was it was fine, and it was like opening lap, right? So I think, and he gave the positions back to the Ferrari. So I think it was fine, because if we penalise stuff like that, what kind of a sport is
everything.
it?
Yeah,
exactly. Well, rolling forward a bit then, very dramatic start. Like we say, the drama continued. Verstappen, due to that and having to give the place back a bit, found himself behind Lewis Hamilton. He goes for an overtake, goes quite deep, bangs Hamilton off the track, you could say. Yeah, what do you think?
I think
of that
it was
one?
just like
we'll
elbows
roll on
out.
to the next incident because they're kind of related, but
I think it was just elbows out. I think it was I think at
they
first,
banged wheels,
I think maybe, but I think first, it was Verstappen had braked way too late and he wasn't really going to make the corner. But then also there was a bit of maybe Hamilton hadn't left him enough room. And then it kind of carried on a bit. So I think over the whole move, it was kind of equal I would say.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think Verstappen was never making that corner without
I don't think
Hamilton's wheels. He was never making the corner.
I don't think he was making that corner, but then I think when you scroll on to the turn 2, turn 3, whatever, I think at that point then Hamilton maybe didn't leave him enough room.
Yeah, you can see it. He doesn't, like, Max is alongside and Hamilton's nose is facing far too in, and then obviously that's why Hamilton then had to leave the track and stuff. So I think like Ellie said, throughout the whole thing, it's the first lap kind of thing. It balances out, as shown by the stewards who, there was no penalty for that. That wasn't what the penalty was for.
Yeah.
So I think,
I will say, the first bit was definitely Verstappen was. He broke way too late. He knew he wasn't going to make the corner, but because he was alongside, it meant he was entitled to space, which is a bit of the rule that's a bit ambiguous because it leaves people to dive bomb, knowing they're not going to make the corner. It kind of allows for
dive bombing, exactly. That is my issue with the rule. Was I did see it and think, well, he was never making that corner without contact, but by the letter of the law, he was okay to do that, and it is his corner. But then, how it was never a feasible overtaking opportunity that he could have done by keeping it on the track.
It's not his corner. He's just. Well, someone in that situation is. They need to have enough space allocated to them, so that you can both race through that corner and survive.
I think he did though.
So.
Yeah. I think if anyone were to have been penalised, I think it would have been Verstappen, but I think it wasn't.
Yeah.
Because Hamilton then at the next corner, I don't think necessarily there was enough room. He went out wide. I think it was messy from both of them.
Yeah,
and I don't think it necessarily needed to be. But
no, I don't think it would have been a penalty for either. But just a bit of harsh racing, let's say. But hey, we like to see action. The scrap continued. Was it the next lap or later on in the same lap? Another incident with those two, where Lewis didn't make the corner. Max was definitely alongside him at that point. Lewis takes the escape road and quite clearly gains 2 seconds on what was Verstappen and Beerman at the time. Do you think... So obviously for that he received a 10-second penalty. Do you think that was harsh?
I think 10 is quite harsh. I think 5 is more normal, but I guess this was lap 6 now. So maybe if it was lap 1, you'd have got like a 5-second because they're a little bit more lenient.
Lap,
but maybe
yeah.
But I think because
Behrman
had got in the middle of them, it would have been quite difficult for him to give the place back.
Exactly.
So I think maybe he could have slowed down.
Yeah,
a bit.
Just at least slow down. Get that time loss. Yeah.
And then maybe it would have been a 5-second penalty. I don't know, but it wasn't really a situation where he could give the place back because he would have been giving 2 places.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree that because he didn't follow the rules of how to re-enter properly, a penalty was due. I just think 10 seconds was 10 seconds was far more than the advantage he gained from that incident.
Yeah, he gained
and it kind of ruined his race because Lewis was looking quite racy this weekend. He was looking like he had really good pace in that stint of the race, and it was a real shame for him. He's been quite unlucky this year. I mean, he hasn't been the fastest as well, but unlucky from him, I think. But
and because he picked up floor damage going over the grass and how he re-entered. So
maybe he should have stayed on the track then. That helps.
Yeah, exactly.
He should have taken the actual re-entry.
Yeah, he should have
instead of the grass.
Yeah. Yeah,
maybe that's funny. That's quite a funny idea. They should set booby traps for drivers who don't re-enter the track the way they want them to. If they don't go round the bollard and stuff.
They have some with like the chicanes, and then
yeah. Like Monza, if you just go straight through instead of doing the little chicane at turn 1, if you don't make the corner, you just fall into like a lava.
Yeah, but there wasn't it like Seb Vettel that just ploughed through them.
Yeah, just right.
Exactly. Then they need more punish. If you want them, if you're going to hand out 10 seconds, why not put a little sand trap there? Why not put a little little water there or something? I don't know, something dramatic. Keep it interesting. Okay, someone else who was quite unlucky this weekend was Carlos Sainz. Obviously, didn't end the race, but even before that. 5-second penalty, drive-through penalty, speeding in the pit lane. Absolute nightmare. Surely they're the kind of unforced errors, right? That you really can't afford in F1, especially in the kind of midfield battle that Williams is in. His incident at the end wasn't really captured by the cameras, but he seems to have just spun a few laps to the end. Do you think he just lost a bit of focus by that point with the amount that had gone on for him this weekend?
I think the engine. They said there was reports of smoke. I read afterwards that the justification for the virtual safety car. There was reports of like smoke, so the marshals would have to come out further to get the extinguishers on it. So I think there was some sort of engine overheating issue, something extra going on rather than just a mistake there.
Interesting. So it's still an unlucky weekend for him then.
The speeding in the pit lane, it was because his pit limiter was having an issue, and he did come on the radio and he said the car was like jumping down the pit lane, and when you saw it, it really was like juddering down there. So I guess like
flicking out the limiter, flicking on and off. Yeah.
Almost, yeah. So then it was really weird. But then I guess when he comes in for the second time, knowing the pit limiter wasn't going to work, maybe he should have managed the pace himself. Because it's 80 kilometers an hour. I feel like you have the speed on the dash, you could just go slower.
Yeah.
You know, just okay, I'll just go down there at like 70.
But I can imagine how sensitive the throttles are to try and like keep 80 in a car like that must be quite hard to.
Yeah, but you could go to like 70 and you might lose a couple of seconds or whatever, but he ended up with a drive-through penalty which is 20 seconds. So
yeah, it kind of ruined his race.
You'd have rather had
Yeah, kind of ruined his race. The most unlucky man in F1 history at this point, Fernando Alonso, also not finishing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he's cursed? Do you think he's signed a deal with the devil that let him be as fast as he is into his 40s, and part of the agreement was like, you're going to have the worst luck in history or something? I find it unexplainable how unlucky he's been this year.
Yeah. But then also just in his whole career, I feel like he'd rather have had 2 more championships by being with the right team at the right time than being able to race in your 40s, because you'd rather have, at the end of the day, he's probably not going to win another championship if he'd have had the right career decisions.
Rotting away at Aston Martin,
Because the thing is, like, we don't even know if he's still that good or if he's just next to Lance Stroll.
Stroll is that bad.
Fernando Alonso's doing so well.
Anyone else in that car, it's probably championship winning.
Yeah. Put Max in that car.
Yeah, exactly. If you take away the bad luck and the bad driving and put someone decent in there, who knows what could happen.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't have a proper like yardstick to measure Alonso with, because we don't know. It's Stroll. We don't know.
Well, that's true of F1. I know we're going on a tangent now, but that's true of F1. To be fair, is like that's kind of the beauty in a weird way that you never actually truly see totally matched drivers. Like even within teammates within their own car, they have like slight tweaks to the setup and stuff. Like it is a weird sport in that like you can never truly say this person was better than this person because they've never had an absolutely 100% equal playing field.
Speaking of also people who've been unlucky, can I just say Hulkenberg also unlucky retirement from him. So
issues on the
weeks, it seems.
On the lap to the grid.
Yeah.
And, he was trying to manage it, but it seems like they just couldn't get it under control. So, unlucky because, again, he was, there was some pace there, I think. But, not with the issues.
Right, rolling through the race then. Interesting, a lot of teams this week went for a 2-stop. So, obviously, I think the first ones to kind of pull that trigger was Piastri and Antonelli. So, Piastri worked his way back up from P9. Was behind Antonelli, looking like he was going to overtake him. Initially, so Russell was on the radio begging to be let past Kimi because he could feel Piastri behind him. It felt like he had more pace to go track Beerman down in what was P4 or P3 at the time, I think. Got past him. Kimi had Piastri right over the back of him. Piastri was struggling. It seems like Piastri was going to come in, and Mercedes said, "Right, well, we might as well come in as well." Going for their second stop back onto the softs, and McLaren beat them in the pits, and Piastri came out first. Big win for McLaren. That I think they've had some issues with the pit stops lately. I think this was a really great weekend for McLaren all round, just for getting some devils out, like Norris's start and getting an extra pit stop done quickly. I think they'll be really happy with their work.
I think Piastri's first stop, was 3.6, so he didn't have a particularly speedy first one. But then I think Norris's second, which is where they've been having the trouble, normally their second pit stop, The second and third pit stops were much smoother, but the first one was still a bit slow. I did notice that. So better, but not squeaky clean, which is interesting because in the first half they've had like 1.92
they've
second
made a
pit
name for
stops,
themselves as being like the fastest pit stop team, haven't they?
But it's kind of disappeared the last few races.
Yeah, it has, but that's what I mean. So this week they managed to get the switch done in the pits. So box to overtake really was box to overtake because he came out ahead of him.
Yeah,
but that seemed to spawn a round of everyone else pitting, and the big benefactor of that was Max Verstappen.
Just sells right
Ollie
through.
Beerman then came in. Yeah, Beerman came in, Russell came in, but Verstappen on reasonably old soft stayed out and got himself up to P3. Do you think if they didn't call Beerman in, he would have had a chance of holding Verstappen off on those older mediums he was on, or do you think Max had the pace to catch up to him?
Yeah, I think we saw how he got to Leclerc by the end. I think he obviously would have gotten to Behrman a lot quicker, and I think he showed that if the pace Behrman to Leclerc was quite similar, which it had been before, I think Max would have had him. So I think that was unfortunate to give up that podium position, but I think it would have happened anyway. Yeah. So overall, a really smart call from Haas.
But I think also if none of the others had pit, like the Mercedes and Piastri, I think it would have been quite close with Verstappen, because it would have obviously taken time for him to get past them and to get caught up in their squabble. So I think had Haas have just stayed out, then yes, he would have got past them. But if they'd all stayed out, then maybe not. But obviously, who cares? Like, they were going to obviously call him in.
They weren't going to pull him in if no one else came in. But I think pulling him in essentially confirmed P4 for them at that point, because he was keeping pace amazingly well. I mean, that Haas is on and off. Whether it was the Haas or not, Ollie Beerman was really pulling his weight this week. It was full merit. There was no lucky safety cars for him. There was no big crashes taking out the contenders. This was a P4 earned on pure merit for him and Haas team. So I think they'll be really proud of themselves, because his pace this week was really impressive. Do you think he's making a case to become one of the front runners for rookie of the year in the last few weeks?
Rookie of the year is, I think, quite a close battle, but I do think like Hadjar has maybe been slightly better, and obviously he got his podium, but I think maybe Behrman the last few weeks has definitely come to the fore a bit more, and he's been consistent in a car that is inconsistent, which I think is quite impressive.
Yeah, I think Hadjar's got the edge for me at the moment, but I think what is interesting is Behrman's performance relative to Ocon, which, as Ellie's saying, like the last few weeks has been an improvement, and I think he has shown it's hard with the cars changing, but in comparison to Ocon, his momentum is really strong, and that's almost more important than being the standout rookie, is getting that development in, and I think if he keeps this up, I think there'll be a top seat for him, and probably at Ferrari one day. So it's exciting.
Yeah, well, he's part of the Ferrari driver program.
Yeah,
isn't he? You could see. I guess it's probably a topic for another podcast, but you could see the long-term strategy maybe of when Lewis probably retire. He'll probably retire at Ferrari at this point. I can't see him racing for another 10 years. When he retires, that seems like Beerman will probably be ready by then. But again, probably a decision for a few years down the line. Going towards the end of the race then, Russell huffed and he puffed and he could not get past Ollie Beerman like we were just talking about. And he actually did switch back with that Kimi. So he was begging on the radio for that switch. And he did promise to give it back, and he did in the end. Do you think his complaint will be they didn't do it sooner at Mercedes? Because it did take him about 4 or 5 laps to make that decision to let him past the first time around. Or do you think that it kind of would have ended the same way anyway?
It's difficult to say, but if you're going to make the decision, you might as well make it fast. And we've talked about this loads with these kind of things. There's no point dilly-dallying, because he's right behind him. He's cooking his tyres. Ultimately, it didn't look like that Mercedes had the pace to get past Behrman. But if you're gonna take 5 laps, swap them down. You're just causing friction and issues within the team, which goes beyond that one race, and that's the problem. And I think it's really just an error there. I think you either say, look, suck it up, get past him yourself, or you make that smart decision. You say, look, have a run at him, have a go, and if not, we'll swap it back.
But do you think that the dilly-dallying on the call, like Toto wasn't there this weekend, do you think that after a lap of the strategists and the engineers, whatever, do you think Toto would just kind of step in and make that decision? And do you think that people maybe were not as willing to make that decision? I don't really know whose call that would be ultimately, but it seemed like it took an age for somebody to say, yes, let's do it. And it, as you say, it felt like had it have come sooner, maybe it would have had a different result. I'm not sure if it would have, because I think when they came out on the fresh tyres after the pit stop, Russell did manage to get in the DRS, but after a couple of laps he dropped out and he couldn't catch up. So I think it might not have had a different result, but it seemed strange that the decision took so long.
Yeah, it's just the timing of the decision is the most important factor in that kind of thing. It's when the timing of it, and like I said, I think it's funny that they haven't learned from watching McLaren's, say struggles. They've still walked to a constructors championship, but seeing McLaren struggles with team orders this year that other teams haven't said, right, the key to it is just hard, fast, no matter what the decision is, make it quick, and that's the important bit. But another decision right at the end of the race, the virtual safety car. So we mentioned Carlos Sainz in the stadium section, putting it into the wall, breaking the suspension. Kind of robbed us, didn't it? So Verstappen was coming back at Leclerc in a major way, starting to have a fight. He caught up to the point where Leclerc was having to defend, and we kind of got robbed with the virtual safety car, didn't we? Do you think it was a right call for a virtual safety car? On the coverage, I couldn't even see where his car was. I couldn't even see it. It was that far down the escape road.
I think just for I don't know if it was the right or wrong decision, but it seems like it took a while for it to be made. So I'm not sure if it was at first they assessed it and they thought it was fine, and then they were like, oh, actually, we need somebody to go and do something, and that made it not fine. But it seemed like you have in the top right corner the track, and it come up with the bit in yellow where it stopped, and it seemed like there were double wave yellows there for ages before they made the virtual safety car call, and that's what was annoying, because I think had it have come out straight away, it would have been a bit more understandable. But it was like, it was almost like it dilly-dallied. Oh, we'll see.
Yeah, then it would have meant there's time when it ended for us to actually get a lap and a half of racing, maybe. And
because we got half a lap in the end.
Yeah, it would have felt inevitable for Max to get past Leclerc at that point, in my opinion.
Yeah, obviously at the time, I was incredibly frustrated. That whole second stint, I was on the edge of my seat, and at the time, you're furious. You're like, well, but you want to err on the side of caution, because we had another incident where we had marshals on the track. They obviously didn't realise that I think it was Lawson had pitted. They were running across the track to get debris on the other side, and were on the track when Lawson, the onboard is crazy. And he's saying, I could have killed these people. And so that was really the horrible decision.
They were skipping over the top of his car. They were that close to him. It was I've never seen anything like it from stewards, at least. It's crazy stuff. I thought at first I was seeing a clip of a protester on the track or something, but then I think it's because they've been
told okay, the pack's gone through kind of thing, but not taking into consideration that he'd gone into the pits, and obviously he had no idea, the team had no idea to warn him, and he could have killed someone, and it would have been no fault of his own. Really scary situation for him.
I imagine will be an investigation into that, but there's clearly some procedure that went wrong or is not in place, and that sort of edge case needs to be looked at, because if that happens again, it could be really dangerous.
All of this was kind of in the rearview mirror of Lando Norris, who we haven't really spoken about much about the race because he didn't have much to do in the race. He was light years ahead of anyone. He finished 30 seconds ahead, which is a huge win for him. And he took the lead in the championship, most importantly. Only a point above Oscar, but with the momentum, that feels like a very valuable point lead that he has now. I think he's put himself in the front seat. To make the note that Verstappen did technically close the gap, because his gap to Oscar was 40. His gap to Norris is now 36, so technically he closed the championship gap this week. But really, I think it's been on the wall for a few weeks that Norris really was the front runner for the McLarens at this point, given the form.
Yeah, because Norris put like 10 more points between him and Verstappen.
Yeah.
So I think Norris has still extended his lead over Verstappen. But yeah, it's just interesting, isn't it, that Verstappen has technically closed the gap, but also has technically got a bigger gap. So it's a weird one.
We were talking about numbers like last week, and I think he needed, going into this weekend, 8 points to make up to the leader, which then Piastri. After this weekend, he now needs 9 points a weekend to close that gap. So
yeah, because if Norris comes second in the 4 races and 2 sprint races, and Verstappen wins them all, that's only 30 points.
It's not enough.
So it's not enough. So.
Norris is definitely in the driving seat now, if you pardon the pun. Yeah, it definitely feels like Norris has put himself in the driving seat with that result. And I think, like, obviously you don't get any more points for how dominantly you win it, but the momentum it's going to give him, there's another race again next week, right? There's another race straight away. The momentum that a 30-second win, a pole position gets you, if he has another good weekend there, I think you might be looking at a world champion that's been really hard to overtake him.
Yeah.
I think it benefited him as well, obviously, this weekend Verstappen did manage to move up to P3 after his quali in 5, but having in P3 and then there's a bit more of a buffer, and having Piastri in P5 again, obviously it meant he took the lead by 1 point, but it was a bigger gain than maybe he would have thought coming into it, because Verstappen had in the last 5 races won 4 of them, and that included winning a sprint race as well, right? So I think it's important as well for him to kind of turn the momentum a bit, because Norris has had more momentum than Piastri, but Verstappen's had the most momentum and the most form. So I think it was important for him to kind of take control a bit of the battle himself.
Yeah. I think as well, we're going to mention the papaya rules a bit more, but I think as well at this point in the season the gap might only be 1 point, but like we've spoken about the momentum and things, I think with Max not breathing down the neck, but he's there, Max is there, I think Lando now is firmly, team orders might have to come out a little bit, and McLaren if they need to, because like you say, if he finishes second every week they've got it. So if they're in a kind of situation where Piastri's 4th and Norris is 5th, or 3rd and 4th, whatever, I think the call to swap's going to have to come in from now on, just to make sure, because the last thing they want to do is lose a drivers' championship with how dominant a car they've had this year. Yeah.
Was it in Zandvoort where Norris had a DNF and Piastri won?
Yes, that's right.
I think since then Norris has closed by 40 points or something like that. So obviously Norris is way more on form, so I do think maybe they have to favour him, but then also it's 1 point. I don't know, we said last week I don't think they can, so.
I will say Andrea Stella has come out since the race and said no team orders. He said each race is race by race, no one, it's a 1 point gap. The reality may be different, but that is the line, sticking with it.
That's for the media, I believe. That's for the media. Moving on then, I'm going to hope we all have the same answer for this, but let's move on to our driver of the day. Ellie, do you want to lead us off with your driver of the day?
Yeah, Lance Stroll. No, it's obviously Ollie Behrman. I think through the whole weekend, Lando Norris, but for the way that he seemed to have more pace than the Mercedes, and I don't know how much that was the car, because it was double points for Haas, so obviously they had a decent car underneath them this weekend. But the composure as well from Behrman to finish P4, I think was fantastic. So yeah, obviously Ollie Behrman, And he's from Chelmsford. That's where I was born. So
Chiang Mai.
just a little shout out,
Shout out Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Harry, do you want to go ahead with your driver of the day?
Yeah, it's got to be Behrman. With all the same points as Ellie. Even though Lando really, I think, taken the championship as well with such a dominant race. I mean, that's got to be in the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was Kieran Chandok and the Sky commentary did say that Ollie Behrman was his driver of the day, but Norris was driver of the weekend. And I think I'm going to agree with that, to be honest. I think you can't really look past Ollie Behrman in P4. Cutting his dad off on the radio at the end, I saw the clip, was very, very funny.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he was getting plaudits from everyone. He just pulled his steering wheel out to cut the radio whilst his dad was talking to. I was like, that was quite funny. So he got some style points out of it as well, but I quite enjoyed that.
Can I also mention Ollie Behrman's dad? Because we were saying last weekend that there's less like girlfriends being shown.
No, wax,
but again, again we saw Ollie Behrman's dad in the garage, and like no girlfriends, just Ollie Behrman's dad, and I'm very much here for it. I think it's hilarious. I think because when Leclerc was on the podium, they did cut to his girlfriend, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I'll allow that.
Podium's fine.
But in the
There's
garage,
no racing to
exactly, in the garage, I don't really like it. But they've cut. I think it was like 2 or 3 times they cut to Ollie Behrman's dad. Obviously, it was a big race for him, a big result. But yeah, I thought it's quite funny that everybody moaned that they put the girlfriends on, but I'm hoping I don't think anyone's going to moan.
Yeah.
Because also he's like so passionate about it. The girlfriends are just there like, oh, why has someone got a camera in my face?
Yeah.
I'm just
he's
here
jumping
to, like,
around the garage.
Whereas Ollie Behrman's dad's jumping around. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Okay, I feel like it's time to move on to everybody's favourite segment of the show. It's time for Grid News.
Hello and welcome to Grid News. Oh, so my first point was going to be that Lawson nearly killed a marshal, but we have covered that already, so I'll move on. Yeah. There's not much Grid News this week.
Slow week.
But McLaren have made it more difficult to remove the grid position tape. I don't know what the official terminology we're using is. So you know
Tapegate.
When you go to like TK Maxx and you try and remove the price and the label has like little circle things on it. So when you remove the label, it doesn't all come off in one go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are with me?
Yeah.
That's what they've done to their tape. So they've like cut like shapes in it. So now it's in like 100 pieces, so you can't peel the whole thing off in one go.
But are they removing that afterwards though? Are they asking, like, is some poor marshal being asked to do that? I think I understand that, but I hope they then clear it off after the race.
Yeah, I don't know if they are clearing it off after the race. And afterwards, Norris said he doesn't even use it, so I think it's just, we're talking about mind games.
Yeah.
It's pride now though. But now it's a pride thing.
We're talking about mind games. But now it's like they're going to make it really difficult to remove. And it was just mind games. He doesn't even need it. And Red Bull got fined €50,000 because somebody went onto the track to try and remove it. And he's not even using it.
I think McLaren are trying to goad him into doing it again to see if they get another fine, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they like wrote a note on it last weekend saying good luck this time. So I'm quite enjoying Tapegate. But again, I think it's just kind of mind games. I don't know, maybe Norris is using it. It probably is quite helpful, but it's just funny. It's one of the funny things people do when they're in tight battles, trying to get under your skin, trying to get in your head. Because I think Max Verstappen said, "I don't even need tape. I know where I am."
Yeah.
So it's funny, and it's quite nice that in a battle there's still this like light-hearted joke.
Yeah,
and a €50,000 fine. So also, we spoke about this last week. There's those mystery McLaren consequences that were surrounding Norris after the Singapore incident where they touched wheels. But since the US sprint race where Piastri, he said he took some of the blame for that. He admitted he should have known Hülkenberg was going to be there. He shouldn't have taken that risk. And he put his hand up afterwards and said, that my bad. The consequences for Norris have subsequently been removed. So I think Brundle said it was just going to be something like, because so they take it in turns each weekend to get preferential treatment in qualifying, right? Which car goes out first and second, and I think it was just going to be Norris had to give Piastri one of his like preferential weekends, which maybe was going to be in Vegas, where they're not expected to qualify that well anyway. So it wasn't going to be anything big, no big ramifications, but they've been removed now after that US sprint race, which I thought was quite interesting. But I think that is maybe the fairest way to do it. So yeah,
taking the law into their own hand. Thank you, Ellie. Okay, looking forward to the next race then. Is it next week or is it the week after?
No,
do we have a week
2
gap?
weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. Week off.
2 weeks. Oh, good. Week off. Oh, that makes what I said earlier wrong then, which is always love when I say something that's proven wrong within the same episode. But we're nothing if not factual on the Rear Winging It podcast. Yes, Brazil next week. What a track! Iconic track. One of my personal favourite tracks. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a good race. Harry, do you want to start us off with your predictions? Give me your pole sitter and your top three.
Oh, I was so wrong. I was very wrong this weekend. So instead of another prediction that will go awry, I will have my hopes and dreams out on the table. I hope it rains. It's Interlagos. It rains often, and that extra chaos into a very tight championship battle, I think would be amazing. And also Max does very well in the wet in Brazil. So I think it would give him the best chance. But, to see Norris and Piastri, if they could both be fighting for the win in wet conditions, maybe with Piastri back on form, that would be really cool to see. So yeah, I'll have more of a hope. I'll do a little rain dance and yeah, hopefully we'll get some good action.
Ellie, give me your pole sitter and your top three for Brazil.
So I think this is one where McLaren's going to go quite well, and I'm going to go pole sitter Norris, and then I'm going to go in the race Norris, Verstappen, Piastri. Piastri looked okay in race trim. He managed to, I don't know, I guess he managed to fight his way a little bit, but after a bad start P9, he did manage to climb his way back up. So yeah, I'm going to say Piastri in P3.
For me, I think Brazil's the kind of track that you can make up places on. I think, like you say, the form's going to continue. I'm going to give Norris pole. I think he's shown where he's at lately. He's going to go well again. I'm going to go Norris, Verstappen, Leclerc. That'll be my top three. So a slightly different order to this week, but the same top three, boringly. But I think they probably are the three most informed drivers at the minute, if that's fair to say. But I'll say that's my top three Brazil. But I look forward to it. Always a good one.
Yeah, I like Brazil.
Okay, moving on then to final thoughts. Harry, what are your final thoughts this week from the Mexico Grand Prix?
I think at this point we're in the stage where like the dream is alive, but you're sort of at that point where you're actually awake, but you just don't want to get out of bed. So you're sort of, the memories of the dream are slipping, but you'll still kind of remember it.
It's a daydream.
I think that's you're like warm and cozy, right?
Yeah.
You're under the cover, you're warm, you're cozy, you're drifting in and out.
And slowly the reality is starting to set in. That actually, it's not going to happen. But, it's exciting. It's exciting that we've got drivers who are at this stage of the season are still competing for it. We don't know who's going to win each race. So I'm really looking forward to Brazil. It's a great track. And hopefully that will continue all the way to the end of the season.
Ellie, give me your final thoughts this week.
My final thoughts are, we've still got 4 races left. I think 3 of them coming up. So Interlagos, and then in Qatar, and then in Yas Marino, suit the McLaren, so they should be reasonably pacey there. I mean, we've seen races this season in the last few races where we thought McLaren would go well and they've not. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen.
True.
But I will say I'm really not looking forward to Las Vegas. It is not just because McLaren aren't going to be quick
I am
there.
if McLaren not good.
That's the thing. I think, Harry, you're going to be liking it because McLaren, I think their highest they've qualified is 6th or something like that. Which, when you consider they've,
don't get me excited.
you know, they've had the quickest car there the last year, but
Okay,
yeah.
Ellie, here's what happens, right?
Okay.
Here's what happens. Norris from now on, right? Oh no, it'd have to be. See, because if Norris if he gets second every race from now on, but then does do a bad in Vegas, that that could be enough.
Yeah, it could throw it into the mix, but obviously we still have the sprint races.
Yeah.
To go. So
yes.
we'll see. But
All
my
points up for
final
grabs.
thought is that it's going to be a great end to the season, 4 races, 2 sprints, but I'm just not looking forward to Vegas, so I might just skip that one, let you guys do the podcast, talk about it, and I'll just I'll just go on
Wake up
holiday
at
that
4
week.
a.m. for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. My final thoughts are that I am absolutely terrible at predicting things, and my prediction that Oscar Piastri was going to sail away with the championship, which I probably made after Zandvoort, have clearly come absolutely not true. So I'm going to predict that I am never going to become a millionaire, because then it will happen. Because everything I predict the inverse seems to happen. So yeah, my final thought is that I will never become rich. And we'll see what happens there.
Well, we might not be getting rich
Okay.
off this podcast.
Well, thank you. Yeah,
I'll make that prediction.
That is for sure. Yeah, that will come true for sure.
Yeah, there's not good odds on that bet.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, thank you both very much, and thank you for listening, everyone out there. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. Get involved. Tweet. We're not on Twitter anymore.
Well,
are
we are still
Instagram
technically
us.
there, but we're protesting.
Email us. We're protesting. So we're not there, but we're there. But get involved. Reach out to us. Have a great week. We'll see you all after Brazil. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.